UFC 252 had a tough moment for the Sugar Show, but gave us the completion of the greatest trilogy in UFC history. What's up? I'm Andrew, you're tuned into Play Action Productions, and today we're talking UFC 252, Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier 3. Before we get to the main event heavyweight title fight, let's get to the first heavyweight fight on the main card, Chiodo dos Santos and Jairzinho Rosnstrike. Now in my opinion, I thought Jairzinho came back a little bit too quickly after getting destroyed by Francis. I mean, who doesn't get destroyed by Francis? We'll get to that later. But no, he obviously told me to shut up because he came back and knocked out JDS in the second round. And it was a nice combination. You know, he feinted with the right, threw the left hook, and then threw the right over it. Swarmed him on the ground, and that was lights out for JDS. And this was a good stylistic matchup. Boxer, kickboxer, small cage, big ass guys, and it exactly what the plan. It's interesting too, good little tidbit here. I heard that they both train in ATT, obviously, not training together because that would be stupid. But JDS actually asked Rosnstrike if he wanted to spar a couple times before their fight. Like, that's okay, interesting decision there. Would have been hilarious if they did, but they didn't. From here, Rosnstrike, who knows, man? Like, you got Lewis out there, the Black Beast, obviously. You have Curtis Blades, maybe. He's not, I wouldn't give him Francis again. Francis got to fight for a title, but that was a good fight to start off the heavyweights. The co-main event saw the return of OMalley, the Sugar Show, taking on Chiodo Vera. And, I mean, the end of this fight, Chiodo won by TKO in the first round. But there's a lot more that went on in this fight besides just a clean knockout. First of all, the balls on OMalley to dye his hair the color of the Ecuador flag, which is obviously where Chiodo's from. That's a bold power move, and I like that. But this was an interesting one. I mean, this is obviously Sean's toughest matchup. He's not fighting a standard boxer. You know, Chiodo's really creative and really quick with his footwork as well. Kind of not matching Sean, obviously, with all the crazy kicks and stuff. But he switched stances a lot, which was interesting. And he started off blasting the leg kick, and then all of a sudden he blew out his ankle or something. He, you know, kind of looked like he slipped, but no one really caught it on the commentary team. And then it happened again, and that's when they kind of caught. He put no weight on it. It was destroying his movement, obviously. And it obviously led to his downfall. If you saw the fight, as you saw, he fell down. I mean, all credit to Chiodo. He came down, blasted a few elbows with him. Obviously, Herb Dean pulled him off. It was an early stoppage in terms of a knockout, but Herb Dean knew that he had a serious injury, and to get him out of that fight, with much respect to Herb Dean, there was no complaints from anyone on Sean's team. That was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, he got his first loss. Again, Chiodo had a great performance himself. The injury just, you know, puts an asterisk or a damper on it for both guys. I mean, I'm eager to hear what happened to him in terms of how how serious it is. I don't know, man. Worried. He has the same injury he had before. Could be out for another couple years. I really hope not. But prayers up to OMalley. Now the time everyone's been waiting for. Coming to my channel just to find out who won the main event, because nobody else has access to the internet except for my channel. So shout out to all the world. Stipe DC 3. Not just for the heavyweight championship. For all the glory, all the marbles. You know, the winner could be the heavyweight GOAT. The winner is definitely the heavyweight GOAT. You have DC could ride off into the sunset. Stipe could ascend to, a Mount Rushmore that has 4 of his faces, which would be awesome to see. Stipe won. Unanimous decision. Went all 5 rounds, and all 5 are action-packed and, you know, pretty relatively close. You know, you look at the first fight, and what went wrong, it was just, he hit him off the break. The second fight, Stipe was getting pieced up, beat the body. DC got tired, and he finished him. So really coming into this fight, it was one main focus for each guy. DC was used to wrestling more. Stipe hit the body just as much as he did the last fight. And let me tell you, one of those things happened. Right off the jump, you know, you can see Stipe came in so lean. He was like 231, but he was a lean 231. I don't know if he can get much lighter than that. He was ripped. Probably the most ripped I've ever seen a heavyweight, so shout out to Stipe for that. He went to the body early and went to the body often. He was blasting leg kicks. DC did a good job with the wrestling in the first round, and that was it for the entire fight. More on that later. But, you know, Stipe was doing a pretty good job. He looked like he was moving better. He was more fluid with the strikes, but DC was hitting harder when they were both fresh, and of course dropped him at the end of the first round. Hit him with an eye poke too. More on that later too. Come to the second round, and it seemed like DC was slowing down a bit. He was using the wrestling moves, the takedowns, kind of as a feint. You know, Stipe would block it, put his hands down, and then bam, 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 3 or 4 shots to the head. But the end of the second round is where the tide turned, you know. because DC was looking a little slower than he did in the first round. Stipe dropped him, almost finished him. I mean, I would argue you could have stopped that fight. He was just holding on for dear life, but he's saved by the bell. Come to the next rounds, and it was getting even worse. However, this is where the tide turned again. You know, Stipe had an eye poke at the end of the third round, and I mean, it didn't look like anything on the broadcast. You slow it down, and half of Stipe's finger is in DC's eye. It's fairly gross. Mark Goddard told him it was just a punch. I mean, he missed it. People are human. But he said he couldn't see, and that was kind of all she wrote. He came out with a good fourth round, but the fifth round was mostly Stipe. He was doing a great job in the clinch, holding down with the double underhooks. And I mean, this was just one of the greatest fights I've probably seen in a long time. Super close fight. I had it. Stipe went in rounds 2, 3, and 5. 4 was definitely DC. 1 could have gone either way. I was leaning towards Stipe, but I mean, it could have gone either way. I mean, he really surprised me with how good his clinch work was. You could tell by the end both guys were getting tired, but DC was a lot more tired a lot earlier, that's for sure. And it's a shame he didn't use his wrestling more, and clearly the same thing happened. He got beat. It's tough because this is probably his retirement fight, and he's not retiring as a champion like he said. On retiring on 2 straight losses, that's tough. I don't buy the retirement. I say he says he's retired. John Jones moves up. That fight comes out again, because I mean that's a money maker. I would pay for that. That's for sure. And Stipe is the heavyweight GOAT. Period. You know what? I was a bit on a lonely island, because coming into this fight, everyone was saying the winner is the heavyweight GOAT. I disagree with that, because if DC won, he would have been one of the greatest martial artists of all time. But look at the resume that Stipe had. You know, JDS, Overeem, Mark Hunt, Arlovsky. He lost to Shrew, but you know, he even came back in Ngannou, like all those guys. And I mean, don't get me wrong, DC beat a good amount of crap at heavyweight, but I don't know, man. I think Stipe had a more impressive resume, and this is just icing on the cake. He is the greatest heavyweight ever. It's gonna take years and years. I don't think anybody's ever gonna top him. And obviously, Stipe has to fight Ngannou next rematch. That'll be a great scrap, but I don't know. The lack of wrestling really surprised me from DC. How great fluid Stipe was for most of that fight was not that surprising. He's a hell of a fighter, and it was a great way to close out the card. Well, if you actually watched this all the way through, I appreciate you doing so. It means a lot. Drop a like, comment if you have something to say, because I'm down to talk about any of the future cards coming up. Subscribe to the channel. A UFC 4 video game came out. I've been posting a lot of that. A lot more to come. Got a cool ideas for some series, career mode going. So stay tuned for those videos. Again, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the fights, and we'll see you in the next video.